Yo guys, we're back for another last to first challenge on F1 2025, trying to take the slowest car on the game, the realistic performance Sauber, up against the titans of F1 2025, the McLarens, the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, and take victory around my home circuit. Of course, celebrating that it's a Silverstone GP this weekend, we're going to be on the mediums to the softs later on, and 27 kg of fuel in the tank. So this is probably the strongest track along with Miami for the AI on this Formula 1 game, so it's going to be quite the difficult task to try and find our way up into the race lead. Last week in Austria was pretty easy, to be honest. The AI were not that competitive there, but here is, like I say, their strongest track, if not one of two, and we're going to be down the inside. We have to make hay while the sun shines. And we do get the move done up the inside, looking for a strong exit, avoid the dirty end in the middle of the corner, get the car straight, and we are going to be slingshotting ourselves on. The AI very slow on the exit, actually making contact with Lawson as he did lift, but, oh, we got a warning for that as well. Sorry, FIA. Down the inside of two more AI, though, and Yuki Tsunoda's going to be a bit wide. Oh, can we get up the inside of two? Oh, no, we can't get the track. We did get up the inside of Yuki, though. Okay, we'll take that, we'll take that. That's very nice for us. And we're going to be up into P9 in Gabriel Bortoletto's Sauber already before Sector 2 has even ended here in Silverstone. The car's going a little bit side by side up ahead. And if you look at the mini-map, wowzers, the McLarens are absolutely pulling away, and Charles has missed the apex by a country mile. Where are you going, Sunshine? What is all that about? Mate, where are you going? Anyway, getting back to the point, we have somehow found Charles Leclerc ready to qualify for the Donington GP. He was that far off the track, but we've taken advantage of that, and we've gone up the outside, anyway, I was going to say up the inside, around the outside, to take P8 in this race. Lando Norris has taken fastest lap, and you can see him really scattering away at the front of the race right now, the two McLarens. And that's kind of how I predicted to be anyway, this weekend. The two McLarens are in so dominant form, especially coming off the back of Austria. But with the rain, anything could happen. I really would like, to be honest, I'm not really the biggest Lando fan. I don't really follow him that much, you know. But for the storyline, also to see him back fully in the championship hunt. He is in the championship hunt, but also, I mean, mentally. Sorry, Alonso. Oh, Kimi did a nice drift there. Would be nice to see him mentally get another win, you know what I mean, and clinch his home GP. I think that will set him up really well for the rest of the season. But especially Mr. Russell, George Russell, bless his heart. Oh, we're on the grass there, unlucky. Bless his heart. He's doing basically everything right. But, of course, so many media speculations around his home GP with all the Max Verstappen, I can't call it drama. Maybe it is drama, I don't know the right word. Around the whole Max Verstappen situation, is taking a bit of it's making his home GP a bit damp and down, you know what I mean? So I do feel a bit bad for him in that sense, that he can't just go here, maybe announce a new contract, enjoy his time, and then move on and continue excelling in the season, because he has been sensational, and that Apex was not sensational. It is time to lock in, as Lando Norris did do the fastest lap of the race. Okay, we're not a million miles off that. We was half a second away, despite the fact of having to send Alonso from Narnia. And we did make an absolute mess of the final sector as well. So with that being said, with locking in, we can have some good pace to try and be closing in to Lando Norris. We've got 10 laps left in this mini Silverstone GP. And we're going to be trying to work our way forward. Too far away from Antonelli on this straight, so we're going to turn off the battery and save it for future opportunities. The yellow flag up ahead. Oh, no way. No way. Lando's bottled it. Okay, right. That is unfortunate. I guess. Wow. I don't want to say anything because I know the comments will say it for me anyway. But that is quite what is the word? What is the word? Predictable? Maybe? I'm not too sure. I don't want to give slander to Lando because he does seem like a decent lad, to be fair. But yeah, I really hope he doesn't do that in his Silverstone GP this weekend, especially after he was dominating this mini race. But with that being said, we have got the race leader of now, Oscar Piastri, up ahead of us in our sights, and this train is going directly to the race lead. Will be interesting to see how far Lando or Lando's AI can get back up the grid anyway in the remainder of this race. So we have got a good opportunity. The rest of the cars here are on the soft compound tyres. Of course, we're on the medium. What does make a bit of a risk, to be honest, because they're probably going to be boxing before we do, and they will more than likely will be getting an undercut from us. So we need to make sure that we don't drop too far down the grid, and or allowing Oscar Piastri to get too far away from us in this race as well. But to be honest, the car's feeling good. Of course, it's realistic car performance, so the rear of the car is sliding around quite a lot on the sauber, just not having the most amount of grip possible in a racing car. But we are able to be holding our own even on the worst compound of tyre right here. Through the right-hander, using up a little bit of the medium battery, just also trying to save a bit of battery deployment as well in this phase of the race, because although it would be nice to be a bit closer to Kimi Antonelli, more than likely at this point we're not going to be in a position to overtake him efficiently anyway without draining all of our battery. So we're going to try and play it smart as the AI is side by side up ahead. Oscar Piastri, and I must presume that's Max Verstappen, are going side by side into the final sector. And yeah, very much when we get to the low speed stuff, we're able to close in. But our straight line speed does seem comparable with the AI as well. It's a lot of work that I've done actually recently to get the setups much more tuned in to straight line speed preference on F1 2025. And that does seem like the meta by going with the low wing, low drag configurations. Is better on the tyres, is better on the battery deployment, harvesting. Actually, only Max is on the medium tyres as well, so he's on the same strategy as us. But yeah, lower wings just seem better basically on every department in F1 2025. So it's a lot of work that I've done recently to be updating setups to get them into that working operating zone. But we're going to try and go up the inside of Kimi Antonelli, force a gap. But no, he's not budging there. But you can see the side effects of those soft tyres starting to glade very, very quickly right now, as we already have 21%. Only a few laps before we'll be going in for our pit stop. You can see pit window opens lap 7. But looking at the tyre deg they already have in this race, I'm thinking about possibly extending my stint to make sure that my soft tyres are still a-okay towards the end of the actual race itself, and we're not left just hanging on for dear life towards the end of it as well. Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri side by side again. Lewis Hamilton's getting involved in that battle just slightly, and we're looking to stay behind, just trying to save a little bit of that battery. And now, as their tyres are degrading, our tyres are getting better relatively, and we're starting to open up the opportunity to find our way past Kimi Antonelli. I reckon those soft compound runners will be in the pit stop this lap. So we're going to have to be pretty smart about this, how we make our moves but don't waste our battery. Because if we get past one car and they're going to box anyway, it's a waste of time. But speaking of that, smart moves down the inside. No battery used in that situation. We'll have to use a little bit on the exit though, just to ensure he can't come back at us. But now I feel safe and secure in this position. No, I don't feel safe and secure. He comes rapidly back at us on the straight. That caught me by surprise. Around the outside, squeezing a bit to the apex there. But just able to hang on to the position here. Up into P5 in this race, and we can just see the race leader of Oscar Piastri up the road. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Bortoletto, Antonelli and Charles Leclerc. I've been turning off my battery a bit too early on this straight actually. We have to get back in that DLS. Okay, that was a bit of a rookie error on my behalf. I turned off my battery too early, got too confident, and we dropped out of the DRS of George Russell. Had to burn a lot of battery to get there into that activation zone one more time. So that's put me a little bit on the back foot, but we are in a good bit of clear air right now. Into the right-hander. Okay, who boxes? 2 cars box, and Max Verstappen, off the medium compound tyre, has boxed, presumably, to go to the hard tyres. I'll be surprised to see him on the softs, in all honesty, because that's a very long way to go on the soft compound tyres. It's possible, but probably not faster. But with that being said, George Russell is on the absolute edge of losing the DLS from Oscar Piastri up ahead. So let's see if he gets that or not. To be honest, it might be good for us if he doesn't. It might be good for us. as these rear tyres are starting to fade away right now. Only 30% on the tyre day. George Russell does get the DLS of Oscar Piastri. That's a bit of a shame for us, but also has some unique advantages, as it's going to keep the pack a little bit more condensed up together. What's going to help us as well to make sure we stay in tune with Oscar Piastri. At the moment, I'm thinking if we should go a lap longer or not. The advantage of that is, of course, better softs at the end of the race. But I'm thinking about that track position, and if my mediums already don't feel this great right now, they're probably going to be feeling worse on the softs at the end. And if I can build up an advantage to the AI, then of course that'll be more than worth it, and maybe will make the difference winning the race. But I think we don't have a choice but to box. I think at the moment I don't want to use too much battery on the straight, but yeah, I think the risk of losing too much track position will not be worth it. So we're going to be looking to come into the pit lane this time. One of the hardest entries on the whole calendar as well. Very long and very easy to speed into. It was actually only 1 mile an hour under the limit. As it looks like there's a bit of cloud coverage around, but I don't think it's going to rain. I think it will rain on the actual Silverstone GP. Hard tyres all around. George Russell is going to the medium. So that's a very interesting situation, that we're going to be going the same distance on a set of softs as they will be going on a set of hards. So, pit stop, come on, what's all that about? Why was I held so long? Anyway, that's not ideal for us. We're going to have Lewis and Max coming down the pit straight. They're already past us. Lewis might be leading the race. Lewis is all over the back of Oscar up ahead. Wow, wow, wowzers. That'll be a cool sight to see. Okay, Lewis is actually leading the British GP right now. Max Verstappen is on the soft compound tyres, and we are also out of the DRS of George Russell. Okay, that tardy pit stop by the pit crew has really cost us. But Charles Leclerc have even worse. He's down to 2.6 seconds away from us. So the battles of power, that's probably actually worked out for us, that pit stop. Max Verstappen is drifting it. Hello. It's all kicking off around here, isn't it, governor? That's probably the most British thing I've said all video. Anyway, AI draining a lot of that battery up ahead. Max Verstappen seems to be struggling a little bit after the oversteer spell, but we need to make sure we can dispatch of George Russell ASAP. We haven't got many laps to do it to get back up to Lewis Hamilton in this race, but I feel like the final sector or the first sector will be our chance to get past Mr. Russell here. Don't want to burn my battery too early in this situation. Want to do the move more by the grip of the tyre rather than the battery, so then we have the pace and performance left in the car to be gaining to the AI later in the stint as well. Okay, this is where we were talking about. Look at the grip we have. Using a bit of that overtake button right now, and we'll be trying to go up the inside of George Russell, I think, into the next braking zone. Getting past the AI there of Lando Norris. He's making a bit of a comeback, isn't he? Lando isn't too far away from the race win, considering he spun. Let's see. Yeah, he's probably out of touching distance unless he turns on the afterburners. But yeah, fair play to him. He's making a decent comeback. Anyway, speaking of comebacks though, we started last in this race, up into P4. Oscar Piastri on the hard compound tyres, Max on the softs. We need to try and dispatch of the AI. Can we do it here? Side by side with Max Verstappen. Not able to pick up the traction, but he had a snap of oversteer, which opened the door for us completely to be side by side with him into Cops Corner. Through the right-hander, downshift to 7. A lot of understeer. Can we keep it on the track? Just about we can. And that's helped us immensely that George Russell has snuck through on Verstappen. Because debatably, at this point in the race, Verstappen was a bigger threat to us than George Russell was. Of course, Verstappen being on the softer compounded tyres. Not using the overtake button here if we can get away with it. Quite simply, so we can save it later on to try and catch Sir Lewis Hamilton here in Silverstone. What a sight this would be if Lewis was really doing this in the actual race. Over a second clear to Oscar Piastri. Nearly 2 seconds clear to Oscar Piastri, who will be in P2. What a result that would be. Can Lewis keep his podium streak going this weekend? How many is it? 8 or 9 consecutive times on the podium in Silverstone? That is nuts. That is nuts, that is. What a legend he is. Okay, now let's try and get past Oscar Piastri. Probably our best opportunity for raw race time is to do it here. We'll have to use up a bit of battery to do so. Oh, he moved a little bit late, but we're able to clear him before the braking zone so we can focus in on the apex. And that's very crucial. Chat, what do you reckon? Are we going to be catching Sir Lewis Hamilton in this race or not? 1.8 seconds. Of course, we're in a realistic Sauber. The car is not rapid like a Ferrari, especially in a straight line. Although we are on very low wing configuration, just the pure pace in the straight line of that Ferrari is always going to outdo us in a Sauber. But hopefully, with our cornering performance, we can make a difference. We've almost broken the DRS to Piastri, but Lewis seems to be breaking away from us corner by corner, straight by straight, here on lap 10 of the race. Anything can happen though. Maybe we can pray for a safety car. Through the chicane. The lap's been decent as well. Lap has been decent. So 2.2 at the start of the lap. We just don't have that much battery. We have broken the DLS to Oscar Piastri though. That'd be quite handy if we can keep it like that for the rest of the race. But yeah, Lewis is flying. It's a trait that I've seen quite a lot with the F1 2025 AI. That when one of them breaks away like this, they will just be flying for the rest of the race. I see it quite a lot in my setup testing as well. That randomly in qualifying, one AI will go half a second faster than the rest. I don't know if that's deliberate by Codemasters/EA or not. I think it's cool, to be honest, to see this kind of like standout performance from the AI. But yeah, I'll be interested to know if that is on purpose or not. But seems like we're going to be settling a little bit into no man's land, as Lewis is pulling away from us, and we're seemingly pulling away from George Russell. Let's see if he can do anything though. We were pulling away from Oscar Piastri. Let's see if George Russell will be giving us a run for our money. Here we go then, final lap of the race here today. We were not able to catch Lewis Hamilton unless something catastrophic happens to him on the final tour of the track. Bit of drifting there, that was very nice. Not for the tyres, but for the show at least. Unless something catastrophic happens to him, realistically we're not going to catch him. George Russell wasn't able to catch us thus far as well, so we're just going to make sure that we do a half decent final lap here in Silverstone, and we'll be staying out of his DRS as well to take home what should be a pretty nice P2. Bit more challenging than last week in Austria. Of course, the AI, I think as I said at the start of the video, are much better here than they also are on other tracks. I think it's this and Miami what are the best tracks for the AI on F1 2025. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. George Russell will be getting the DRS of us. Okay, we might have to engage again for the final sector of this race. A good run through Max and Beckett's, and he should be too far away. He's going to be 7 tenths away from us, actually. And we're going to be quite low on battery. Okay, Mr. Russell, calm it down. We don't need a battle from you right now. We can take home P2. We can chill out and have a very good evening. I'll buy you dinner, mate. I'll buy you dinner. Don't you worry, sunshine. Anyway, we were able to secure P2 in this race through the final corners. A nice bit of overtake button with a mini drift to run up to the line. And we are here. P2. Lovely jubbly. That was a good race. I enjoyed that. It was nice to have the AI. Oh, there was Lando again. It was nice to have the AI a bit tougher to fight this time. And Gabriel Bortoletto, as all the cars are steaming past us, Jesus, took driver of the day. Indeed, Lewis Hamilton won the race. We took P2. We were quite a long way off the fastest lap, done by Lando Norris, in fact. So even with a spin, he was able to be over half a second a lap faster than anyone else to take the fastest lap of the race. P6 in the end, only 9 seconds off the race lead. I pray for Lando that doesn't happen in the actual race. It would be nice to see him take home another win and his first time here in Silverstone. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and if you're at the Silverstone GP this weekend, hopefully you have a fantastic time. Hopefully the weather isn't too bad, and hopefully it's not too cold for you out on the grandstands or on the circuit. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Grazie, ciao, ciao, bye-bye.